Welcome to Courtney on Health, brought to you on malcolmpresents.com and another internet sites, which we should probably say later because Max exits. Anyway, Maxine, introduce the show.
Introduce the show.
You're the
Hey,
intro lady.
I'm doing the intro. It's the intro. So it's a hi and howdy, hello to Courtney and to Malcolm, and welcome to Courtney on Health, a Zoomcast series about how to get through these lingering COVID times. Every day there's a new one coming with tips on nutrition and health and exercise given by Courtney Gravenese, registered dietitian with a Master of Science degree in nutrition and applied physiology. Courtney is an experienced nutritional and health consultant in the New York area and beyond, now the beyond the globe. We're in the globe here, and will help guide you on a path to wellness and health. So let's kind of get into the mood.
Yeah, I got in the mood. I picture Courtney
the mood. We're in the
dark
mood.
room,
Getting
holding
into
a candle,
right,
walking.
Right. With a bottle of Matus,
right,
that you can buy online, just the bottle. So some words of wisdom from the late Buddhist monk who I have so many of his books. His teachings were amazing, Thich Nhat Hanh. And this is from his book. He wrote a book called How to Eat. How apropos, right? So here's a couple of wise words from him. More than a couple, actually. Eating our feelings. We human beings have many feelings, both positive and negative. Some people tend to eat more when they're joyful, while others tend to eat less. Some people eat when they are sad or upset as a way of eating their feelings, hoping the feelings will go away. Food becomes a craving to them rather than a source of nourishment. If we do not attempt to look deeply to understand our craving, it will grow. When we take the time to take care of our emotions with mindfulness and compassion, then we can just eat. We can enjoy our food without craving and develop a healthy and positive relationship to eating. And I know, Courtney, that's a big thing with you, trying to get that healthy, positive relationship. And here's some more words of wisdom. The joy of eating. Eating should be joyful. When I pick up my food with my chopsticks, with my spoon or fork, or with my hands, I take time to look at it for a moment before I put it in my mouth. If I'm really present, I will recognize the food right away, whether it is an apple, a radish, or a piece of potato. I smile to it, put it in my mouth, and hew with complete awareness of what I am eating. I chew my food in such a way that life, joy, solidarity, and no fear become possible. After eating, I feel nourished, not only physically, but also mentally and spiritually. I tell you, when I'm telling you, this man was an amazing human. So with those wonderful words of Thich Nhat Hanh, we will delve into the topic of mindful eating and foods or mood foods. I don't know, Courtney will give us great information on how to eat mindfully and what foods affect our mood. Coffee is my picker-upper and gives me a jolt to start my day. The question is this jolt a good thing for my mood? Are my 2 cups in the morning having a positive or negative effect on my mind and body? So this is what I will ask Courtney. Can you please start us off on how we even define mindful eating and the moods we're going to get from foods?
Absolutely. And I will happily touch on, foods for your best mood possible towards the end of our time today. But when you think about mindful eating specifically, first of all, hello, both of you. I don't think we did my usual hello.
We didn't do a hi and howdy.
We didn't do our hello. So
hello and howdy.
And when you think about mindful eating, it really is underneath the umbrella of overall mindfulness, which is, just like you said, Maxine, very much grounded in Zen Buddhism philosophy of being present in whatever it is you're doing. So although I will say that the data and the research that says specifically mindful eating is an ironclad way to absolutely, let's just say, lose weight it's a little limited. We really need more research to say that, okay, if you eat more mindfully, and I'll talk about what that is, you will absolutely get better control of your blood glucose. You will absolutely lose weight. We don't really have that data. It seems to suggest that, but even if we don't, we know that it being part of that overall concept of being more mindful in what we do in everything, not just eating, is a great way to approach life. So the best way to look at mindful eating is really as a complement to your existing approach to lifestyle and behavior change, to whatever weight management program you are following right now, whatever strategies you use right now. So it's a great technique. And again, the better we get at it, just like any other skill we're trying to perfect, the more you do it, the easier it becomes, the more natural it feels. Again, even without having ironclad data, I think it's a good thing to approach. So what is it? So it really is being more present in the act of eating. So it's like, well, of course I'm present. I'm opening my mouth, I'm putting it in there, I'm chewing, and I'm eating my food. But it's so much more than that. It really emphasizes the sensory properties of the foods that you're eating and how you eat. So think about, we've encouraged and we hear a lot about eat more with your family, slow down, don't eat while you're doing other things. Don't multitask while you're actually eating. And I got to be totally honest with you. I try to adhere to that recommendation, that philosophy, but there are times I'm grabbing something, I'm eating in my car on my way to some place. I try really hard. And most of us, I think, want to try. So the message is really, as much as you can, try to really be present and just be participating in the mere act of food so that you can enjoy it. The senses, think about it all. So how does the food smell? How does it really taste, but without just taking on fuel, right? Don't just sit down, throw it down your throat and barely taste the food you're eating. The act of really chewing your food. And I know when I was growing up, it was sort of the rule of, chewing your food. You guys might have even heard of this, chew your food like 10 to 15 times before you actually swallow the food, putting down your fork in between bites so that it purposefully slows you down so
Right.
that you do chew your food. Does this sound familiar a little?
Yeah. Also, my mom, one of my mom's best friends, Ray, she would literally always scream out to us, "Eat slowly." Not only did she do that when we were kids, but when she was at our weddings, she screamed out as a joke at that point, "Eat slowly." So it's crazy. I literally once saw my brother-in-law and his friend when they were, I think, still in high school. We went to the diner up in Central Avenue. They came in after us. They ordered both hamburger deluxes. Okay. They got their food. We were still eating. I clocked it 5 minutes. Eating. I mean, they went in, they ate 4 minutes, like an entire platter. They were like 18 or 19, and then gone.
Done. So yeah. So sorry. What you got now?
I think you put it in the right way. It's the art of eating. It's most people swallow their food. They don't taste it.
Yeah.
It reminded me of when you were talking about food, how you're supposed to drink wine. You're not supposed to just take it and gulp it down without any taste. You savor it. You savor the smell. You twirl it in your mouth and then you swallow.
So I'm appreciative. Some people might be listening and be like, "You got to be kidding me! I got so much to do. You want me to?" So the exercises. And when I mean exercise, I don't mean lifting weights. I mean the tips I'm offering today are really things just to get you started, to set you down the pathway of really appreciating it. So we're going to use an orange, or we're going to use a craisin as our food props today, just to set forth that, what are you talking about? How do I really slow this down? But back to slowing, like there's a reason why that's not new information, to eat more slowly, put your food down, chew your food. So by slowing down, first of all, you do delve into that appreciation of, I'm really tasting my food. I'm really getting involved with the whole sensory experience of it, rather than, and I love the phrase, just taking on fuel, right? We're not rolling up to like the food mark like we are cars in a gas station, sticking a hose, in some orifice in our body and taking on fuel that way. That's not what it should be about. And yet many of us are rolling through our days. I would say most, in particular in the United States, in European countries, at least historically, particularly that midday meal, it's a slower process. It's an embraced experience rather than just, I have to eat. So by slowing down, you experience those emotions, but by slowing down, you also have a greater chance, and we know this, and this is grounded in science. The slower you eat, the greater the chance you have of consuming less food, which means fewer calories, which may mean weight loss in the long run, because it gives that chance for your body to get the message, the hormone release, I'm full. And so many of us eat way past that point so quickly. So you touched on this, Max, in your opening, in your poem, about some people when they're stressed or emotional, some people overeat. How many times have we heard this? Some people undereat, and there's no way to drive how you respond to stressors. It's just the way you are. But you can sort of control that a little bit by being more of a mindful eater. So in a way, it trains those of us who are not necessarily, some people live to eat. You've heard this phrase, some people eat to live. You're wired the way you're wired. So you might not be able to completely undo that, but you might be able to learn somewhat to be more of an, I'm going to eat to live while still appreciating the foods around me, so that you're not jumping from me, like your fork goes down, the plates in your sink or in your dishwasher, and you're already thinking about what you're going to eat next. So if you look at some of the examples, these sort of Zen Buddhist examples of really breaking it down, I have a craze in here. And just if you've had some free time, and I realize time is tight for most people, but again, it's just an example to really slow your eating down and appreciate. Sort of the first thing they would ask you to do is hold that craisin or raisin in your hand and simply feel the texture of it. Does it feel tacky or sticky? Does it feel rigid? What does it feel like to you? Smell it. Is it very, does it smell perfumey to you? Does it smell musty because it's more of a raisin, craisin, and it might impart that smell to you. So what does the smell like to you? And then rather than grabbing a handful, and this really is a great application for almost any food that you can scoop with your hand and then pop in your mouth, in volume, just take that one craisin or raisin, put it in your mouth and slowly chew it, almost to the point where there's no solid left to it at all. It becomes a liquid almost. Then you swallow, so you really get that flavor. So it might sound like a lot, and that is, and even if that's an exaggeration, if you tried some of those steps and just really slowed down your eating and appreciated all of the senses of that particular food that you're eating or what you're drinking, it really helps you appreciate the foods that you're digesting. I love to use when I was teaching. Yeah.
You know what I do that with?
What?
Prunes. Prunes is like a huge raisin to me, or that's the same.
Plum, yeah.
And what I do is it's in the morning. This is a ritual because I have my prunes in the morning. I sort of like feel the texture, but then I bite just a little bit out at the end. So when I bite it, I could squeeze it and it comes out. It's like the juice coming out of the raisin, out of the plum.
Yeah, so it's a great exercise, and I get it. People are tired, but maybe it's just for one meal that you're having or one snack that you're having, just to get your mind to be. Don't block out what's going on around you. Focus on the food that you're eating, which is why it's encouraged. Don't be on your computer. Don't be answering messages. Don't be on the phone. Don't be watching television. We tell our kids this. right? Don't watch TV while you're eating a meal, which is why we encourage that dinner time, together as a family, because you limit the distractions. It's blocking out that noise that is keeping you from being really present in the act of eating. I like to use, when I was doing classes more often and I was doing more mindful sessions, I loved using oranges as my example, as opposed to the craisins, but anything would really work. And why? Because if you look at the skin of an orange, there might be lumps and bumps to it. There are those almost pores to an orange, right, that you can see. So visually you see that. Smell the orange, the smell is so amazing and, potent. So it's like, before you even peel into it, you've already taken a look at what it looks like, what it feels like, and what it smells like. And then by the time you get to the point where you pop through the skin, like you might get a burst of some of the juice that comes out. So that whole pre-eating process of what's involved in that beautiful piece of fruit pulls you back into the process of eating. I get it. This is a lot. It's like, I'm busy. I don't have the time to do this. But like I said, if you practice this a couple of times, like many other skills, it brings you back. You're able to block out the noise of what's distracting you from appreciating the food that you're eating. And there's a good chance that you will, appreciate your food for sure a little bit more, but eat more slowly so that you do get fuller faster, and are able to ultimately consume fewer calories. But even if you're not, that act of being more present, as I said, underneath the whole umbrella of being more mindful in what we do, whether it be work or an activity or a sport or a project, it's a great tool to be able to practice that elsewhere so that you are more present in what you're doing. We're not great multitaskers, and yet we think we are. So it's a great technique to try and get you to focus on undoing that, culture of I'm going to juggle a lot of things. I'm going to do more. And more is not necessarily better.
In Europe, especially last when I was in Italy, at lunch is their bigger meal, and they take a long time eating lunch, and then they'll kind of go into a siesta. So the mindset is so different. And you can see people enjoying their food slow. They're talking to each other. They're in between courses. It's like, it's a whole different mindset, and they seem to really enjoy it more. Here, as I mentioned before, you get a lunch break, you're sitting, you're eating in front of your computer doing work. It's like, I'm guilty of it.
We all are.
So, you try to think, like, take a step back. The one thing I do though is I in the morning, since I mentioned my coffee, I got to get the whiff of that fresh coffee, the beans. I just love, like, when they're fresh or when they're ground up. It's like, wow, that smell is just fantastic, and it just makes you look forward to that cup.
Oh, but what a wonderful experience, though. I mean, and the headspace you're in of like, oh my gosh, that smell is enough to get me to be excited about it. So yeah, I mean, there's no reason, by the way, that you can't. I mean, unless your doctor's told you absolutely don't have any caffeine. I mean, what we know about caffeine's been around for a long time. So I think the general rule is a couple of cups a day, providing it's not interfering with your sleep at night, is absolutely fine. And look at what you've done. And I'm with you, Max. First, it's what I feel like it's like the rope that pulls me out of bed in the morning, that one cup that I have, but it's that smell and that moment. And I've tried to, as much as I can, even if I have to get up a little bit earlier, have that first 15 minutes of the day, even if it's 5 minutes of the day,
to yourself,
to have my moment with my coffee,
right,
because it gets me going. It's my mindful moment with my cup of Joe. So
Me
I
too.
can start to get things going.
We have the same cup of Joe moment. Yep.
See?
But
Very
when
important.
you guys talk about eating and experience it, it becomes a very sensual type of action. I mean, when you was talking about that, I'm thinking of these movies that I see, especially the foreign movies, where the couples are eating and everything is representational of some sort of sexual act. Whether it's peeling, whether it's peeling the orange, the smell of things, the sound of it, the tasting it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, like, for water for chocolate, that chocolate sensation.
I don't know if you just saw that, but it did exactly what it was like, almost on demand. Like I peeled this off and it was
Right,
this
it
spray of
smelled-
juice. It's
smells.
just, I'm a data-driven person. So any, recommendations that are given, there's got to be some science behind it. So to be completely, full disclosure, there's really no one widely recognized standardized protocol for using mindful eating. But like I said, there's no downside, absolutely at all. And I think it will train us better to be more mindful, more present in what we do in other activities throughout the day. I feel like our culture of speed, bigger, better, faster, we have to be more efficient. I get that, but in some parts of our lives, it's not necessarily yielding the results that we really want. So rather than taking on fuel, think about, okay, this is what I need for my body to function at its best. So I'm going to give it, even if it's only 5 minutes. And I feel like this is actually trickier for people who are cooking for themselves, cooking for one, because there's who you're going to sit at the table with, right? And what do you mean don't put my TV on? If I'm eating for one, that's my default. I cook a meal and I sit in front of and I watch Netflix, right? So I think in many ways it's actually a little bit more challenging when you're cooking, eating for one. So, but even more of a reason to practice that, even if it's only for 5 minutes. Give yourself those 5 minutes or 10 minutes of enjoying that meal in silence or with music on. I mean, that's certainly not something that's distracting. Make it a nice table, light some candles. You're right, Malcolm, make it an experience when you can and when time permits, but that way you can focus on, those foods at hand, whatever foods. So we'll talk about mood. Go ahead.
Well, you're using all the senses. You're using your sense of touch when you're touching the raisin or the prune or the orange. You use your sense of smell when the odor comes out. Using your sense of sight.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why, and I'll joke around and I will post a picture of it. And my son, I think he loves cornbread. So I made cornbread. It was a scrambled egg. And it was a yellow pear. So this is back to your point about your eyes and what you see. So it was breakfast and this is a school morning. So by the way, I told him, I said, I should be getting props just for giving you like a legit breakfast, just because it's a great school morning. He's like, it's a little yellow, Mom. And I looked down at it. I'm like, you know what? It is a little yellow. Like, it's just visually, it just was like, okay, meh. It's like, it's very yellow. Why don't you throw some color in there?
There was a few years in my career, I was working as a captain in a French restaurant. And the big thing with the maitre d', when he saw the plate, he says, presentation, presentation, presentation. Definitely. There was a whole art of how to arrange the food in an attractive way. And when you see any shows about chefs, they have an artistic way of presenting the food.
Definitely.
Well, that's what this I'm going to do this quick. Can I do this quick Thich Nhat Hanh quote?
Go.
You give me a second. Can I do that?
Sure.
Because it says, this is one I picked out also because the whole book is great. Eating well is an art, since you keep bringing that up. It doesn't require fancy cooking, but it does require practice and concentration. Your body is not just yours. It is a gift and a responsibility. To keep healthy, we need to know how to eat. Take your time. It's good to take your time to eat because the time for a meal can be a very happy time. Time to enjoy your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Enjoy your meal. Stop thinking and be there fully, body and mind. So that's just what you guys are saying, pretty much. I mean, absolutely. It's true, but getting people to do it, oh God, good luck.
I know and like I said, I'm very much appreciative that people are busy and they don't have. So that's why I'm saying, like, a good first step might be just try it once. Next time, listen, we're in orange season, so it couldn't be any easier than it is right now. Or the next time, you just give yourself a few extra minutes to really appreciate, particularly if, by the way, and I should have started with this, if you are somebody who really is, I live to eat, and you've been trying to sort of scale back and you feel like it's just mindless eating all day long, if that's you, if you're listening and that's you seem to fit into that, this in particular is a good skill to try and to practice, because the yield will be greater. For somebody who's kind of like, I get it. I might not appreciate every single morsel, but I'm more on the, eat to live side, and I've got balance. It certainly can't hurt, but I really feel like it's most impactful in somebody who's really been struggling to try and, get a handle on perhaps the way they eat, their habits that they're eating. And like I said, it's a great adjunct to whatever strategy and whatever program you're doing. It cannot hurt, and in no likelihood will help.
I think since the pandemic, I'm not eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but I'm also eating a lot in between because I'm working out of the house, and the refrigerator is always there. But what I'm trying to do is graze, go to the refrigerator, every hour or so, and get a little handful of nuts. The next hour, maybe, I'll get a cookie, but not eat a lot at the same time.
Well, works for you, that's fine. I will say for some people that ends up being a little disastrous because they're not truly keeping track of their calories. Like we've always discussed this. There's no one size fits all eating plan. So there are some people who do quite well, and it sounds like you do, Malcolm, with grazing. But I've also worked with clients and patients where it's like buffet madness for them, and it just doesn't work. Like they need the structure of meals, and to really get back in touch, which is what mindful eating really helps you do. You want that, not that you need to be starving, you want to get back in touch with the hunger cues. Like, am I hungry? What's driving my eating? Am I really hungry for this food, or is it stress that's driving me there, or is it emotion or boredom? So mindful eating is an excellent tool if you are somebody in particular who ends up eating outside of what a hunger cue would drive you. So again, lots of tools. Think of it as one more avenue to help. But again, lots of different ways for people to eat. I'm not saying you must eat one way or the other, but it's a great tool for people who are struggling with, look, I'm eating out of boredom. It's there, and I'm just going to eat it, and nothing's stopping it. It's a great tool for that.
Well, it's funny, you're talking about everything. I think I get hungry for everything, for all those emotions. I get hungry when I'm angry. I get hungry when I'm happy. I get hungry when I'm sad. I get hungry when I'm lonely.
Oh boy.
How do you stay so fit, Malcolm? How are you doing it?
He walks a lot. He calls me and he walks a lot.
I call her, it's perfect timing. I'm on the West Coast, so 3 hours earlier. So if I'm walking between 6:30 and 7, I can call Max and we can talk about the shows.
Right.
9 o'clock, she's up already walking her dog.
Walking the sparkles here. Yeah, it's actually nice today here in New York.
It's really quite lovely, and it puts us in it makes you feel good. It gets you in a good mood, and we will have an entire segment on because it's very, very popular, trending now. And even if it's not trending, I think people are really interested in how foods affect their mood. And we can talk at length in another segment about the types of foods that have got some decent research in support of them that help with maybe alleviating anxiety, or perhaps helping with sleep, or really helping with emotion. So there's a whole herbal supplement category. So for example, kava, and we've spoken about ashwagandha before. And then there are the foods like the tryptophan based foods and the chamomiles and the GABA based. So we'll definitely talk about that because it's fascinating. And I think particularly when it comes to foods, because we should get most of what we need from our food base first. It's certainly worth trying some of these foods that are high in, like, for example, tryptophan and GABA, that might actually help alleviate some of your, if you're experiencing anxiety or stress. I happen to have, I'm not sure how this ended up, quite frankly. I just happened to see it in my refrigerator. It's Evian sparkling. It's Feed Your Mind. So like I said, it's very trending right now. These foods that are containing, this one has magnesium and zinc. Magnesium is think of our muscle relaxation mineral. So it doesn't surprise me that they're putting these types of minerals and compounds into things like beverages and probably bars and things like that. So we'll talk at length about that. But there's not, look at the color, that's that beautiful sort of
pretty.
Very pretty.
What about the cover of American Dream Cone and the ice creams.
Yeah, guys,
People seem like the emotional, every rom-com you see the breakup and one person or another is eating like a pint of ice cream, right?
guys,
So,
getting very stressful now because we have to end the show.
oh
Can
no.
you imagine?
Oh, well, we'll have to talk about Haagen-Dazs in another show.
This
There you go.
we'll do one time, just concentrating on desserts.
Yes,
Okay.
there's always room for
We
Jello, or
had a-
maybe not.
And one of my companies, one of my radio companies that I work for, they used to have a thing called Just Desserts. He would have a whole party where they just had desserts, and we invited all our clients, and that was the most popular event we had.
I bet it was.
Just
Yeah,
desserts.
sounds good to me. We need to have one of those at the end of Ludlow.
Anyway,
Okay.
guys, Max, close us out.
I'm closing us out. So thanks for joining us for Courtney on Health. To get more info, follow Courtney on her Facebook page,
That's good.
which is Courtney on Health, on Instagram at CLG Wellness, and visit her website, CourtneyGravenese.com. For more shows, go to MalcolmPresents.com and theManyShadesOfGreen.com. And it's Courtney on Health, smart sound nutrition, strong, safe fitness. And we'll catch you next time.
Catch you next
You
time.
guys eat well, and to our audience, try some of the techniques that Courtney has been teaching us today. And let us know how you feel. Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Bye. Take care.